Namaskar, Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe, President ICCR. Friends, it is appropriate that the International Day of Democracy is commemorated with particular enthusiasm in the world's largest and most energetic democracy. After all, for India, democracy was not just a choice we made in 1947, but a way of life well before that. Few societies can compare with the pluralism that has been our historical characteristic. Forms of ballots and of representative government have a long tradition in India. Some 2,500 years ago, the Licchavi republics had developed a consultative and democratic process of governance. Similarly, village panchayats with delegates gathering for a type of a local grand assembly was an established custom in the 10th century Chola era. Indeed, variations of community-based exercises of rights and responsibilities and broad participation existed in many regions. They speak of our inherent attributes of transparency, diversity, and pluralism. Contemporary India's sense of pride in its electoral democracy is visible. We contrast the vigor and credibility of our systems with those who have rejected such exercises as much as those who practice it imperfectly. The consciousness of the power of an individual's vote, even among socially and economically underprivileged voters, or perhaps more so among them, is a statement of how precious and hard-earned this privilege remains. Every 5 years, a general election in India sets a new record for the world's largest such festival. In 2019, 912 million people were eligible to vote, more than all other democracies combined. 2 of every 3 voters actually made the effort to go to the polling station, a contrast to the indifference in many other societies. The quality and the morality of democracy, however, lies beyond just numbers. It can be found in the transitioning of Indian society to a deeper, more culturally rooted, and more authentic identity. Our democracy has both driven this process and in turn been enriched by it. Indeed, a faithful reflection of society in its elected representatives is what gives any democracy real strength, and that is what we see in India today. Democracy is not just incomplete without delivery. This can even affect its very credibility. Whether it is in providing access to toilets, to electricity, or to piped water, or in the near universalization of bank accounts, democratic means are now realizing democratic ends. The equality of the vote must necessarily coexist with the equity of human dignity. One is pointless without the other. Seen in that framework, India's ongoing accomplishments are validating its democratic credentials. A country's external outlook inevitably goes together with its internal values. It is only to be expected that a nation and a people would be comfortable with others of a similar bent of mind. It also encourages the like-minded to work together on global issues. This also explains the context of India's quest for a global commons governed by norms and rules, for political and cultural arrangements that accommodate diversity and multipolarity, and for trade, infrastructure, and connectivity projects determined by transparency, sustainability, and buy-in of host communities. As India rises and its capacities and capabilities grow, it will naturally contribute more to the world. A civilizational state re-emerging on the world stage and draws on its heritage will obviously create its own imprint. In a truly democratic world, such an India will be more India rather than more West. Its developmental template and its embracing of wider responsibilities will draw even greater attention to the salience of its model. As a full-blooded member of the Global South, as a system that intersects so much with the West, and as a polity with a flavor that is uniquely its own, India's trajectory will surely influence the global journey. Remember that as India becomes ever more democratic, democracy will also become ever more Indian, both in its sensibilities and in its texture. The International Day of Democracy is the ideal occasion to discuss, cherish, and celebrate that symbiosis. I wish you all a very productive deliberation. Thank you for your attention.